Hi, fourth graders. We are going to continue on with practicing reading and summarizing information in a text. So let's quickly review what summarizing information is. When we summarize information, we are restating the most important information from the text that we read, but in our own words. So we're reading a text, we're finding the big ideas and the most important details, and then we're using that to write a sentence or two explaining what the text was all about. And so remember, when we summarize, we're shortening the text, we're using our own words, and we're only using the main ideas and the important details only. Now, summarizing is important because you might be asked to summarize information in everyday situations. Someone might ask you, oh, what was this about? Or what did you do today? You're not going to go through every single detail of what you did that day. You're just going to shorten it and give a general big picture. And also, you're going to be asked to summarize information on homework assignments and exams. And summarizing information is really found in pretty much every content area and every subject. So it's an important strategy to have. Okay, so now with any text that you read, there's always going to be important information, and then there's always going to be information that's not so important. And that's important to be able to identify what the important information is. So as I'm reading through this, I want you to try and ask yourself what information from this text is the most important. And that's going to help us to find the big ideas and then write our summary. Okay, so we are going to read this text titled Botanists. Then we'll go through and find the big ideas and write a summary. Botanists are scientists who study plants. They study where plants live and how plants affect the environment around them. Some botanists study plant diseases and try to find cures. Other botanists work at developing new types of plants. Botany is a very old science. Ancient Egyptians, Chinese, and Romans were among the first people to discover different uses for plants. One Greek botanist, Theophrastus, studied plants as long ago as 300 BC. He wrote two important books about plants, A History of Plants and About the Reasons of Vegetable Growth. Without botanists, we would not know much about plants. The information that they give us is important to our understanding of plants and their place in our world. Alrighty, so when I'm trying to find out what the big ideas or the main ideas of a text are, I like to read through the text once, then I like to go back and reread it and either highlight or underline the most important ideas. So that's exactly what I did. I went back through and I highlighted the parts that I believe are the big ideas of this text. So I highlighted that botanists are scientists who study plants. That's what we know, that our title is botanists, and this is telling us what botanists are and what they do. I then highlighted botany is a very old science. Ancient Egyptians, Chinese, and Romans were among the first people to discover different uses for plants. So we know that botany has been around for a very long time. Since the ancient times, people have been studying plants. And then I also, at the very end, I highlighted the information they give us, or that botanists give us, is important to our understanding of plants and their place in our world. Because without botanists, we wouldn't really know much about plants. And plants are very, very important to us and our world. So I'm going to go ahead and write these in this column, big ideas. Now, obviously, there's some more information provided in this text, but again, we only want to focus on the most important ideas from the text. We don't need to include every single detail because, like here, one Greek botanist, Theophrastus, yes, he's an important botanist, but that's not what the general big picture of this text is about, right? It's about just botanists in general, what they are, what they do, and why they're important. So that's why I only included these three big ideas. Now, I'm going to use those big ideas to write a one-sentence summary. And I'm going to pretend that this summary, someone's asking me, what did you just read? What does a botanist do? What is this text about? So I'm going to write one sentence explaining what this text was about and what botanists are, and pretty much what I learned. And that's what my summary is going to be. It's just going to be one sentence. It's going to be simple, just explaining exactly what I just read. So the summary sentence that I wrote just says, botanists have studied plants since ancient times, and they help us to understand what plants are and why they're important in our world. And that's it. I read the text, I found the big ideas, and I used the big ideas to just write one sentence. And the one sentence just gives a general big picture of what the whole text was about. I left out a lot of the details that weren't really that important, right? Because we know the text is just written about botanists. It gives us information about what a botanist is and what they do, and that's exactly what I wrote in my summary. Now, again, summaries are written in your own words, so your summary is probably going to look different from mine. And I wish that we were together in person, because I would love to hear what you guys wrote as your summary, because we would all have different summaries, but they would be similar because we're reading the same information. We would just probably word it a different way. So that's how we write a summary. Now, I know that this video lesson is pretty short, but I mean, that's just kind of what summarizing is. You just read a text and it's short, so you really just have to give one sentence. So that's why these videos are kind of short. Tomorrow we're going to continue on with summarizing and take a look at another text and try and summarize that on our own. I do want to mention that the reason that it's so important to be able to summarize information in our own words is because it really helps us to understand the text that we read, and it shows that we've comprehended what we just read and that I understand what a botanist is, right? Because I'm able to put it into my own words, and it also is going to help me retain that information and remember it because I put it in my own words.